Hey, welcome back. A few months ago, Rapscallion, Samus the Sage, and I released our practical multi-item sorter, and it was a huge success, even being built by some of the big names like Cubfam and his Hermitcraft series. And today, with the help of DatNerd and Rifter's Lab, I'm happy to say we have a major upgrade to the system. So this upgrade is going to allow it to process items twice as fast, and it's going to bring it up to hopper speed, which should also improve a bunch of the stability problems we were having before. Now, there's still going to be some issues, so before I begin, I want to take a brief minute here to talk about compatibility. So, like I said, in our previous version, we were flooded with comments. Does it work on this version of the game or on that type of server? So let's clear all that up with a quick little chart. So, looking at this, we can see there are three things we need to consider when looking at compatibility: the platform, the game version, and the type of server. You'll need to be in the green for all three of these in order for the build to work without any modification. If you have one that's in the yellow, then it's probably going to need a little bit of changes to either the build itself or your server configs to end up making it work. And if you have anything that's in the red, I'm sorry, but it's probably not going to work because these aren't great for redstone. So at least not without a complete redesign. People have made the previous version work in Bedrock, so I'm pretty sure they'll be able to make this one work too. But it's going to be a lot bigger and not as elegant. So this chart is not only a good guide for this build, but it's also a good guide for just about any redstone. And that's because the chart itself is based on how these different technologies interact with redstone on a fundamental level. And so it's not specific to this build. So if you're just looking to get into redstone, definitely take a look at all the ones that are in the green and try your best to avoid the ones in the red. Personally, I stay away from the yellow too, but that's personal preference. The biggest servers out there, or in terms of like availability, are going to be like Paper and Spigot. Fabric is really up and coming, and then of course if you go to the official Minecraft realms, that's going to be vanilla. And the only reason I say 1.14 to present for the version is because I'm using some of the newer blocks, but I'm pretty sure it can be built all the way back to 1.11, which is when they introduced observers. And again, sorry Bedrock, randomness just sucks, and unfortunately that comes to console and Pocket Edition as kind of a side effect because they're based on Bedrock. So, yep, let's get on with the build here, and I'm just going to do a quick fly around. We kind of did a little bit before. We can see it's got about the same setup as before. We've got 7 high stacks of chests, and these are going to be for our different items. And in this configuration, we've got 6 along one wall, 8 along the back, 6 along the other side. This will provide us over 1,000 items worth of sorting capacity. So we can sort 1,000 different items. Over here, we have Overflow, so anything that should have got sorted but didn't have room will come down in here. On this other side, we have stuff that can't get sorted. We have shulker boxes over here, and this little box up here is going to be our input. Now, if we have to leave the area, we're going to need to pause this because, again, this is something that's not unique to this build. But if you leave an area when redstone is running, especially something complicated like this, there's a very fair chance that it is going to break because something is going to be timing based. So if we actually hit F3 and G, we can bring up the chunk borders, and you can see them here, just kind of looking up. You'll notice that I've aligned this center area to a single chunk here and kind of placed everything around the side. And that is going to be to ensure that our entire build is going to be contained within a 3x3 chunk area. And that means we can build a chunk loader down underneath and keep this area permanently active. And then you won't need to do this lever. But that's a little extra bonus that you might want to add on later. So right now, this will pause it and turn it back on. So on the left side here, you can see I've kind of got input, this purple bit, and the orange are just kind of like generic input stuff. The red just burns items when the overflow gets full. And then up here is what we have for the actual sorter and what I'll be showing you in the step-by-step tutorial. So we've kind of, like in the previous version, have this little pre-sort thing. So it's gonna, all the items have to go through like a little stage to get spaced out properly for the rest of the system. And this is essential to have. And then we have our slices over here. And if we can come back around here, we see that we have green, yellow, so we're alternating. And what this is we actually have two different designs for the slices. And that's because without doing that, we weren't able to get them to sit right next to one another. So they're actually 90% the same, about from the front up to here is identical on both slices. And then in the back, we just had to reroute the wiring just a little bit to be able to get it so that they didn't flow into the adjacent slice. So we're just going to get rid of these chunk borders, come over here, and start our tutorial. Alright, and here we have the materials list, so I'll just kind of scroll through this real quick. You can pause, take a look at this. Do note that all the concrete is interchangeable and all the glass is interchangeable. I just used different colors in this build so that you could see what was going on. So I haven't bothered to sum those together, so you're going to have to do that yourself. Anyway, moving on to the tutorial. Alright, so now let's see how to build this. So we're going to grab some blue here, and we're going to start with the pre-sorter. So this is a very important part, and without it, nothing's going to work. So we're going to start by, this is essentially this chest up here is going to be this one over there. Right, so we've got the elevator coming into it, and that's where we're getting our items from right here. All right, so down below it, we've got a hopper facing into a block like that, then one facing down, and then this is just going to be temporary because we're going to face it off like that. And actually, I am going to come over one more block, like so. And then in the back here, we're going to come off of this block, and we're going to make an X. Just going to go like that, and then we'll take out the middle ones. Now we got our X, and we're going to take a repeater on 2 ticks right there, a comparator up here on subtract mode, and another comparator facing back like that. Then we're going to take a dropper and face it this way with a hopper, and then inside the dropper we're going to put a single item. We're going to just drop one in there like that. On top of the dropper we're going to have to put a redstone dust, and we're going to change that to a dot, and then put a redstone torch right there, and a composter on top of it with a single fill level. And then from there, we're going to need to take a note block, place it right next to the torch there, and then down against that solid block, and then observers facing into the note blocks like so, and then take solid blocks, place them there, and then up on the top, we're going to have to take a comparator reading out of the composter, and 2 redstone dust there, and 1 solid block underneath. Alright, so this is going to be what limits our flow to a standard rate, and essentially what it's going to do is it's going to let the items flow at hopper speed, and then between item types it's going to give a brief 1 or 2 tick pause, and then let it continue on, and that will let the rest of the system keep up. So if we just take a quick look at this here, make sure I actually built it correctly. So we're going to put some stuff, space it out like that, and then we'll look down here. Oh, yep, that's one thing to note. We definitely have to actually set up this chest as a filter. We're going to go across like that, and then this second slot has to have 19 items in it. Alright, so now that we got that, make sure these are empty, and we will put these back in here like so. And now we can watch as it comes in. It will have 2 items in it because there is a slight delay. And as soon as it changes item types, you'll see a little gap in the items right there. And then it changed, and then it'll do these, and it'll have a small gap and go back. If you look down here, it's easier to see the gap because we see 1 is constantly here, and then we'll see a small pause right there. And then that would be where the next one starts up, but it was already finished. So that's basically how this works. It's essentially an item filter right here, but we've got a little extra delay. And then on this side, we've got it activating a clock which then locks it for a little bit longer at the end, so it doesn't actually take that second item from the filter. And that will set up the proper timings for the rest of the circuit. So we got to do the first slice of our two different types. So we're going to take our yellow and place it right here, place a hopper into it. This is also going to be a filter chest. So then below this, we're going to come down and a temporary block here and over like that. And then from this, we're going to need to take our droppers elevator going up. So we come over, just like the previous design, up, 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 over, and this will go into a double chest, which will be our filter setup. So now we need to build out the back of this. So we're going to grab a transparent block and come down underneath, place it there, break this one, and then on top of that, we're going to put a comparator. And then grab solid blocks again, come over. There's going to be another comparator feeding like this. And then we're going to take some barrels and place one in front of that comparator and one behind it. Now, both of these we are going to fill with a solid row of items like that. And then over here, we'll do the same thing, fill that with a solid row. And then we're going to take redstone dust and place it between these two. And then on top of this, and it's going to come over here like that. Cut that off. And then over here, we're going to have another comparator facing that direction with a barrel in front of it and behind it like so. Technically, you don't need this one on the first slice, but just for memory's sake, it's good to have that there. And in these ones, we're just going to have one item. So like that and like that. And then over here, we're going to come up like so and down. And then over on this side, we are going to need to come down like this with the redstone. And then underneath here, we are going to come like that. And we need another comparator coming out, over, and then grab a glass block and step it up like this. And this glass block is here so that we don't cut the dust off, and this glass block is here so we don't actually power that bottom hopper. And so now basically what we have is we have the signal coming out from the hopper under the filter over there, and it's cutting this one off, which is then feeding down and up, and this one's essentially here to make this top pulse quickly, so we only let one item out of the filter chest here, and then the bottom one here allows items through as long as they're the same type, and then one of them will always get sent back up to the top and refill this filter chest up here. So let's actually set this up quickly. Gotta grab my items here. We're just going to take a blocker item, and this is going to be just anything named something that is never going to get put into the system, and you just fill it up like this, and then whatever you want to filter, just come and take and put two items in there. So if I want to filter out hoppers in this slice, I do it like that. If I wanted to add chests or something, I take another blocker out and put two chests in there. And so that's how we're going to filter that. And then down below here, we're going to have to put some filter items in like so. And I actually, let's see, forgot how many we got in these. Okay, 64, 48, and one of each. And that's the same for both slices. We'll come over here. This is the filter hopper. So we're going to do 64 and then 48. And then 1, 1. And that's how we're going to have to set up that. Now, the only thing we have to do is run the lines that power our dropper elevator to get our filter item back up. So we're going to take some observers, face them down like that, then across, and then down, and then we're going to need some to power this. So under here, we'll have one pointing into this right there, one going like that and facing down. And then out of the bottom here, this is going to be where our output is. We're going to put a hopper coming out there, and then we need some rails to transfer the power. So we're going to go like that. And so now the power is transferred down to the rails and then into this one. And we need another observer facing like this to power the next two. And then to power these last two up here, we're going to come up, over, and down. And so that is our A slice right there. Now, down here, we can actually start adding the overflow. So I'm going to take and put a chest right here. And this is something that we didn't have in the old build, was this type of overflow. So I'm actually going to take and point this one into this chest here. All right, and this is going to go to an overflow line. We're just going to build this back like so. And this is going to run along underneath all our slices. And whenever they overflow, it will overflow back into this hopper and then push them over into the chest. And then that'll fall in here and take it to our overflow storage. So then down below this one is where we're going to actually have our output chest. So I'll just put a temporary one there. And that's where our first output chest is going to be. And then this is going to come and face in like that. And then we're going to stack 7 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. And we'll just point into each of those. And then we can make them too wide. All right, so that is going to be a single slice with our overflow and everything. So now we have to essentially do mostly the same thing. We're going to pretty much copy it from here all the way back to this row, and then we're going to have to do this back part a little bit differently. So we actually have to take this hopper and come out a little bit further. I always forget this output hopper right there. We're just going to aim it in there like so, and then we're going to grab our other color, which we're going to make green. So we've got green right there. This is going to face over like that. And then, of course, we're going to take the hoppers down. It's down like that. Temporary one. Then face it over to this side like that. And then we'll get our dropper elevator going. So, well, make sure it's a dropper, not a dispenser. So up, 3, over, and then back this direction. And we'll fill in our double chest right here. Like that, and that'll be our filter one. So let's actually just set that up real quick. Just gonna block all these ones off. Oh, actually, you know what? We can't do that just yet. I'm gonna grab all those back. I forgot we have to lock everything else. So those are gonna kind of just fall down into here. All right, so let's finish building this back bit off. So again, we're gonna need a clear block. So we're just gonna take our lime glass right like that and take a comparator out of it, and then back to our solid ones here, and this is going to need to actually be a transparent one as well. Take our comparator, face it over, and redstone dust, and then we're going to have to put a solid green one on top to break that so they're not interfering. And we're also going to have to take a yellow and put one like that so that when we put dust on top of here, those two don't interfere. So again, we're going to have to expand out our barrels. So we're just going to put a barrel there. And remember, this was solid all the way across that top row. And from there, we're going to come up and put a comparator there and redstone there and there. And then this is going to come up and down like that. And we got to add our barrel here. And these top barrels, again, are going to have a single item in it. We're just going to put a single item in this one as well. And then that is our top line going up here. And we have to go downwards now. So just come down 2, break that one out. Redstone dust on top. And then another solid here. Redstone dust there. Coming over, we need a comparator facing this way. and then we'll have solid, and we need our other clear block. And this is going to be just the same reason as before, so we don't cut it off here, and then so we don't power the hopper right there. And then this clear block, make sure that we don't cut this off. And now we've got the two different slices going here. We just have a few things left. We can make the same sort of observer chain setup. So we're just reading off that end one right there, coming over, down, 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 and then over here we face into the hopper, or into the dropper, and then this one faces into a hopper, which is going to face into chest there. And then we need one facing up and rails on top of those. And these have to be powered rails or activator rails so that they actually transfer the signal. And then once again, we need the observer facing in like that, and then the top side coming over and down. And now we just want to do the bottom little bit. So for the overflow, we just have a chest. I'm going to try to sneak in here. Maybe I got to fly in. There we go. Chest like that, and that just basically carries the item straight over without having to add more hoppers into the overflow area. And we just add our output like so. And this comes down in there. And then we can just add a bunch of chests in like this. And this is going to be our next slice. Now, if you want to get technical and actually increase your output here, or your storage capacity, instead of running them flat like this, you can actually turn them to the side. So you can run like that and like that, and then you just do this all the way down. And then you do have to change the overflow a little bit here. So now instead of basically it runs like this, but to feed this other chest, this other row of chests, you have to have another set of hoppers facing like this. So first it'll prioritize this right slice because it'll get pulled down. When that fills up, it'll push it over here and then prioritize down again, which will fill this left slice. And when that one fills up, then it will backfill into the chest up here and go to your overflow. So that's not how I designed that system, but if you do want to double your capacity, that is a good way to do it. And I would suggest doing it if you don't need to worry about lag, because the stuff in the back here can get kind of laggy. The nice thing is this is all wide open now. So if you do want to create some sort of system that like moves blocks in place to lock these and make them a lot less laggy, you can do that. I just don't have that system built in right now. So let's just finish this one off, and then we can give it a little test run. All right, so this part looks good. We're missing our output hopper again, so I'm just gonna grab a block so I can place one against it, grab a hopper, come in here like so, and we'll just call this our output chest for now. And then we still have to configure this, so let's take our blockers. Again, we're gonna just fill every one of these up except the things we want to filter. So let's filter barrels in this. We're just going to drop 2 barrels in there. And then down below, we need to set up the filter. So if I remember correctly, this was 64, 48, 11. 64, 48, 11. And I think we got everything else set up here. So I'm just going to try some barrels. Let's do 32 barrels. 32 of these guys, and let's do something that's not in there. So let's do pistons or something. All right, so let's just drop this all in this top chest, and we should see it start working here. So if we look underneath, we can see the pistons coming through, and these should be going into the output. Yep. They're going out there because they didn't match either of these slices. Now we see it stopped blinking. This is another nice benefit of this system. it's taking in the hoppers, which are a match up here. And while it's doing that, it only needs to put one of these back up once, one of the filter items back up once. In the previous version, it would have to do it for each match. And so now we don't do that, so we reduce a lot of the flashing that's going on back here and reduce a lot of the lag as well. So then we saw some matches coming in here and into the next one, and if we check all the way at the bottom here, we see we have our hoppers in this one. I don't know, did we actually enter something that matched in here? I don't remember. Let's check. We have sticky pistons. Let's see where this stuff went. Barrels. Oh, I think I know what happened. Yeah, it just put them in this top one because I didn't actually extend these all the way down. So yeah, something you definitely have to do. There. All right. So that would then just get duplicated over and over again. So you have an A slice and a B slice, and you just alternate. So it'd be A, B, A, B, A, B, and you could extend this out as far as you wanted to make your system as large as you want. And if you need to turn a corner, that's as easy as just running the output hopper line out a little bit, turning it, and then starting the whole system going a different direction. And when you make that turn, you don't have to keep the A, B pattern. You can start wherever, but wherever you start, you then have to continue that way. All right, so a few things to note about this system to help you debug it a little bit. If you're getting clicking, that means something's broken and you should probably stop it and figure out what went wrong. If you then find any items in these elevators, that indicates that you've got something either wrong with these observer lines that are coming here. You either missed an observer, or you're missing some rail, or something's facing the wrong way, or you have the wrong values in here. There's a lot of stuff it could be, but definitely double check that, because that usually means you mess something up, right? If you double check it and everything's fine, then that probably means you're playing on some sort of hardware or software rather that isn't in that green section from the chart I showed earlier in the video. So go back and double check that and make sure that's all right. If you're not in the green there and you still want to make this work, I'm not going to be able to help you too much because I really only have expertise in the technologies that are in the green section, but there are a lot of great communities out there that are more than willing to help you. And if you check my Discord link in the description, there will be a bunch of people in that Discord who are great people, great redstoners, more than willing to help you out and try to get it to work in Bedrock or whatever version you're in. So definitely check that out. The other issue would be if you're losing some of your filter items up here occasionally. Again, that is most likely one of two causes. The first cause would be that you messed up something with the build back here, and the second cause would be that, again, you're not running on the right software to actually allow this system to work, and you should go back and check that chart. However, there is one small caveat here, and that is if you are feeding this directly from a farm, sometimes if your farm is not producing fast enough, there'll be like a long interval. It's like 17 game ticks or something like that, that will come through here, and it will get by this pre-sorter just fine. However, it will cause problems in the rest of the system, and that is because down here, if you look, when these hopper elevators fire, this observer right here fires into this dropper, which is a solid block, and it will momentarily lock the input from the previous one from itself, which isn't an issue. But if you notice, the next slice over also does that, and it locks it going forward. So if you have the wrong interval, you can actually lock the next hopper's input, and that will cause it to delay for like one tick, and then the next dropper will fire, and then it will put the item in there, so the item won't get returned up to the filter chest. And so the way to prevent that There's a couple ways to do it. One is we have a different design for this pre-sorter here that was designed by Rifter's Lab, and he's got it set so it can handle that. So if you're going to be inputting from a bunch of farms, I would definitely go check out his channel. I'm pretty sure he's going to make a video about it. If he doesn't, then I will. And you can kind of just replace that this system with that one, and that should fix all the problems. And the other option you can do is like a fix for our previous version. If you add a item buffer system between your farms and the input here, that should also work. So yeah, that's kind of just goes over most of the problems. Definitely double check to make sure all your comparators are set to the proper mode. I believe everything in the system now needs to be set to compare, and the only subtract will be this one in the pre-sorter. And then again, make sure all your barrels are set correctly. So the ones along the top here will all have a single item in them, and the ones in the back will have a full first row. All right, so that is it for this video. I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and if you could subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you think about this, I would very much appreciate it. So that's been this build. It's been a great blast, and I'm very thankful for everybody from the community who's contributed. And if you have some great suggestions, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I might feature them in the next upgrade to this. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.